You got a bottle of Plug Talk champagne?
I did their first ever plus size edition.
Nice.
Lena wasn't there. They had me some other fat girl.
He models.
Just two bears rubbing tummies. Oh, he's a cutie though. No, I kind of love you, man.
The gentle bends.
The feeling's mutual. Check it out. You know what it is? Food Community Podcast. We are here again for another episode of God Smokes Trappers Only. And as you could see there, he is wearing the Trappers Only Griselda shirt. If you're wondering what kind of shirt that is, of course, it's Shaka. Shout out to our sponsor. And of course, we have the incomparable, legendary drug lord, former.
Wow, you're really reaching today, aren't you?
Johnny Mitchell.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
You may have seen him on other cool guy podcasts. Now he's here.
I've got my own podcast, which is thriving.
Kind of slapping.
It's called The Connect with Johnny Mitchell. Yep. We have actual drug lords on there. But it's good to see you guys. I love coming to the... I looked this up. Do you guys know 1 in 3 people under investigation for child porn? Did you guys know this?
God.
That's a different
And what
segment.
made you look up child pornography, Johnny?
Well, because I'm driving through here, because first of all, it takes me an hour and a half with traffic and the thunderstorms to get out of here.
Yeah, what makes you drive through a city and be like, I wonder how many chomos are here?
Because it looked like I'm just passing through like the neighborhoods. This is where the GPS is taking me to get here. And I'm seeing the trucks on the lawn, and I'm seeing like the Confederate flags.
Oh, fire.
And I'm like, this place looks like a True Detective season 1. It's a different, it's California, but it looks like parts of Arkansas. You know what I mean? It's a very different dynamic, you know?
Definitely got those vibes.
Where do you live? What part of the IE are you guys in?
I don't live in the Inland Empire. I live in LA County.
Yeah, you live in a place, a city.
You know, we're doing all right.
Icon lives in Montclair. Icon, give us your address, please. Shout it out.
He ain't lying.
Jesus Christ.
I'm the editor. I'm editing this shit out.
Oh, good call.
All right. Well, it's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
Right. Let's dive in, dude. Let's dive in. So, you're from Oregon.
Yeah, Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to grow up in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. There's very little in the way of like the problems that the people have. No, Portland was, I mean, it depends. You know, I grew up, I had an amazing childhood. I grew up in a nice neighborhood.
Okay.
Everybody's families we weren't rich, but it was like we lived in Portland. Lived 10 minutes from downtown. But everybody's parents was like, a professional lawyer, school principal,
right,
accountant. So it was a mostly white neighborhood, but it was a lot more diverse back in the 90s. I lived on 19th. So if you know Portland at all, 15th Street used to be like the red line. So that was the black neighborhood below 15th Street. Okay. I lived on 19th in Northeast. And so back then there was a lot of crossover. Now it's mostly white. All the black people have been purchased.
4 blocks away from the hood.
Right, exactly. But now it's not the hood anymore. It's all been gentrified and all the black people moved out. Right. But so it was a really like diverse, rich in love. It was a good place to grow up, man. It was good vibes.
Suburban love.
Yeah, it wasn't suburban though. We lived in the city. That's what people don't understand.
Okay.
Portland was one of those rare places where professional white people lived in the city. You know what I mean? Okay. Yeah, so it's interesting. But yeah, it was great. It was like half hippie, half, playing outdoors, half hood. We grew up hooping and, mixing with other kids. And yeah, I feel very, very blessed.
So, I mean, from what I understand, you've always kind of had it in your head that you wanted to be one thing and successful at that, right? And you wanted to be a kingpin.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, it was whatever I was doing, I wanted to be the best at. So I was hooping. At a young age, I was like, I'm going to the league. I would be in the middle of winter when it was pouring rain out, Northwest in Portland. I'd be playing for 3-4 hours a day, right? Or in the blazing sun in the middle of the summer, right? Just like 10 years old doing this. Crazy, right? Like psychotic, obsessed. And then when the hooping didn't work out for obvious reasons, just not very good, not athletic enough, I put that down and then I turned to the drugs. And I'm like, most people just sold weed back in the day. We're talking like this is like 2002, right? When it was still a drug, when there was still like a real hustle. Most people sold it to like smoke for free. I'm like, no. How do we blow this up? Like, how do we, all these people in the rap songs and like they're talking about like making millions off of this shit. I was fascinated when I found out you could actually become a millionaire selling weed. I was like, okay, let's figure this out.
How old were you?
I was 16 when I had that in my head, but I didn't blow up till I was 21, 22.
Right, 16. At 16, were you trapping at all?
Yeah, but every sack up, you know what I mean? Didn't know how to bag it up. Didn't have a plug, so paying like retail on an ounce and couldn't turn it back over, so yeah, I didn't really like figure out what I was doing till I got to college, which is one of the best places to sell drugs if anybody's interested in that. If everyone's a little business tip, the projects or the dorm rooms.
Because demographic is expansive.
Yeah. So and that's where we took it and we're able to kind of get the
so 16
economics.
You're still in high school.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So at 16, were you were just basically just trying to smoke for free?
Yeah, smoke for free and then be a cool kid. You know what I mean? Like, everybody in high school is trying to have like their thing.
I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what it is, right? Unless you're making a bunch of money doing it, if you're already well off, you were doing it to kind of just be cool, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you didn't need to.
Oh, of course. I mean, most people don't have to sell drugs. Everybody knows that. That's a big myth that like we're selling drugs to eat. I mean, people do, but it's like I did it. I didn't have any money. It's not like I was a spoiled kid.
Right.
I grew up. My parents.
What did your parents do?
My dad was a lawyer, but again, he was a lawyer making $40,000 a year. You know what I mean? This is back in the 90s, early 2000s. Like things are different now.
Yeah. $40,000 a year was cool. You could live off that.
You could live off that. Yeah. My mom was like an administrator at a hospital. She probably made another 40 grand. So it's like that was middle class. But we had one new pair of shoes every year, and if you hooped, we got a pair of basketball shoes, and we got one change of clothes, and that was it. It was like I could have used the money. It's if we stack up, it's not like I could like go get money
detrimental to your life.
Right. But I couldn't go get borrow like $300 from my parents to go like get another ounce, So, but no, definitely didn't need to. Definitely like I think part of me regrets my state of mind, but I think ultimately it's the hustle is it's just in me. I'm very independent. I hate working because I would get high school jobs and for minimum wage at Pizza Routes, whatever, being a lifeguard at the swimming pool, whatever it was. And I was like, oh, working is slavery.
So you got that early.
I had that early. Yeah. I'm like, oh, working for a wage, they own you like a job just over broke. Like that's, so I'm like, early, I was like, I got to get out of this. And so drugs is obviously for a young kid before the internet, which is a way for kids to make money now. How else are you supposed to make real money independently when you're 16,
And so when you said you lived 4 blocks away from the hood, right? Mm-hmm. So you were mingling with kids from the hood
for sure
already,
for
right?
Sure.
You said you were hooping, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that any of that mind state that you caught where you wanted to sell drugs, did that come from mingling with the cats that kind of
for sure
had to do it?
My first re-up would be like from my friends' dads. Like he had just come home from a bid or whatever. Maybe he also sold crack, and because I remember I went in and my friend, who later on was not my friend. He became a rat and like a professional snitch. But He was from a family of real gangsters, and his dad, I remember walking in, I was like, I was 16 years old, and me and my buddy had coddled together like, enough for an ounce, like $250 for, an ounce of like fire. And his dad,
fire for 200.
His dad had just come home from like years, talking like real time, and he had like 2 fucking hoes, like black women, in his bed. It was wild. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. He had like gator shoes fucking lined up all along his closet.
Oh yeah.
And he was like mean and gruff. And then I was like standing in the side of the living room, like, hi sir, hi sir, just here for your drugs. Here you go. But it was wild. So yeah, so that was the re-up. But then you didn't really see real money until like I started later on, years later, picking up pounds and pounds and pounds from, the growers in Southern Oregon, Northern California,
Okay, so now you're going into college, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward a couple years, right? 16s,
Eugene,
you're getting into it.
You will know.
All right, so you're in Eugene.
Yep.
You're starting to college. Are you starting to make some money, or are you starting to kind of grasp the idea of being able to, get into a lucrative business?
Yeah. So that was, I mean, it took a long time to make real money, but yeah, we at least started to like buy 4 ounces at a time.
Okay.
And by the way, I know this doesn't sound
quarter pound
to like young kids now, like it sounds like nothing, but back then, like a quarter pound you could eat off of.
Yes,
you could pay in Eugene, you could pay your rent off of it.
What year was this?
We're talking, this is 2004 when I first got to Eugene. So 2005 is when I was like paying my rent. Rent was like, but if we lived in houses, big ass houses with our buddies, rent was like $500 a month. But when I started paying my rent just selling weed and my school books and all that shit, I'm like, whoa, this is it. Like, it was like all I actually wanted was to just not have to have a job, like a shitty job. So when I finally achieved that, I'm like, oh my God, how does this get any better? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but at every level, I'm like, oh no, I want more. And more and more. So yeah, so it was really, by 2007, I think is when we first met the plug.
So you're working your way up now, right?
Yeah.
So the plug, how'd you meet the plug?
Through a friend at school. These were white people. They from Ashland, Oregon, which is a tiny little town just off I-5, really pretty town, just like I'm right on the California-Oregon border. So when he was like, my dad won't even talk to you. He was like an electrician, but he had like a big marijuana farm. And he was like, my dad won't even talk to you unless you could pick up like 5 pounds. So that took years for us to even come up with that kind of cash, me and my crony. So
holy shit. So you knew who the plug was for years. You just didn't have the bread to access.
Yeah, exactly. We had heard that our friend's dad would, because everybody knew by then that like that's where the weed was grown.
Wow.
So you would go down from Portland or Eugene, you drive down the I-5, pick up, come back, you pick up wholesale and you come back and you distribute it. So yeah, so we finally, I think we were paying like $2,700 a pound, which was a good price. But we finally, but the deeper we kept going deeper and deeper and deeper, and finally we met like, the Mexicans in Northern California, and that's when we were getting super love, like $1,800 a shot, and that's when we blew up and. And that's where it really went to serious money.
I think you had said you went from making $5 a week, right, to 25 a week.
$5,000 a week, dude. But
that's pretty. I mean, when you're starting $5,000 a week, bro, is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's
pretty cool.
We couldn't even believe it. So now we're at the next level of the game, and me and my boy, we're splitting that money, but we're like, dude, this is incredible.
Okay, so for
£5 a week we're moving.
So for the people that don't know how it works, how the pyramid works, break that down for us a little bit.
Yeah, so we would go, we would take whatever.
You start where? Retail, low retail.
Yeah. So we're starting picking up an ounce, then you move to a quarter pound, right? And you're still going hand to hand at that point, right? And I'm talking like razor thin margins. Like you might buy an ounce for $200 and you flip it for
make $50
$320. Yeah, or you just wholesale it,
right?
Sell it to a guy and for $250, right? And so you're just We made thousands of those transactions for it seemed like years, but it was like 2.5, 3 years. We would get robbed, stuck up at gunpoint. So then we would go find, a duck, somebody less dangerous to go rob, right? So it got real grimy. We would sell coke. Whenever there was a drought, we would, there was no weed to sell because it was all sold out, right? Imagine that. Imagine that. The kids nowadays can't even imagine that, like, the weed supply would literally be sold up and out. So, you go get a couple of O's of coke, right? And you go hustle that out. So it was wild. But the main thing is you had to get to a grower. That's how you elevated in the game, was because then you got it cheaper, and then you could become the wholesaler to other dealers. Okay. So you had to have the best price. And the best price was these people. It was either rednecks, we call them rednecks, hillbillies, white people that fucking lived in the mountains of these
murder
little
mountain
towns.
Yeah.
Or, the essays, but they weren't essays. These were like cartel people when the cartels really operated, and they would send their growers up from, Sinaloa or Durango, and they would, send these farmers up. They wouldn't even know what state they were in, dude. They were
just working. Yeah.
And there'd be one dude who looked like you, but skinnier, and he was like
fucking cold, bro.
No. You look good. You look like you eat. And you look.
I definitely eat, bro.
This kid was like tired, and he had an LA Dodger cap on, and he was the one that spoke like a little bit of English. Yeah. And he was the guy I would meet in the hotel room, and he was bringing it right down from the mountains. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, so that's and so when you're buying a pound for $2,000 a piece, you can take it back to your market and sell it out to your dealers for $2,500. So you're making,
still wholesaler. So you're wholesaling.
Yeah, wholesaling. I wanted to get away from the street sales. Like my goal is I want to move. I want to undercut. I want to sell my pounds for the best quality at the lowest price. So they just move. So the product's just coming in and out of the door, out of the door. So I left a lot of money on the table, but I had all the clientele because I was just giving out love. So yeah. So in doing that, we could make, like I said, making 5,000 profit a week was like, we were like, oh my God, look, what do we do with all our money? And then, it just kept getting crazier from there. It kept getting crazier from there.
You go from retail. How long did it take you to go from retail to wholesaler? You're a wholesaler now.
Yeah, like 4 years.
4 years.
Easily.
And that was just you were building capital to be able to access that.
Building capital, clientele, meeting people. And it was just,
was it like a business venture? You knew you were working towards a bigger goal, or were you just kind of just like, we're making $5,000 a week. Let's just fucking do it until we can't anymore.
I think it was both. Like we saw the end coming. Like we knew weed was going to become legal, and it was going to be flooded, and you were going to have to open up. You're going to have to become a grower and have a dispensary. Like we all kind of knew that was going to happen back in 2008.
Right.
And I was never a weed dork. I think weed culture is stupid and kind of gay. Like it's like I'm not interested in marijuana. I liked it as a product.
Like the lucrativeness.
It's what was working. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it could have been heroin, or it could have been dirty draws.
It almost seems to me like you didn't like the weed. You like what the weed got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You like what it got you, right? Because when you saw the two hoes and the fly ass pimp, the fly ass gators and everything like that.
Yeah.
When you first initially went in to meet your boy's dad to buy that ounce, you were like, holy shit, this is amazing. This is dope. This is cool.
Yeah.
I want this.
I know. Where are my two black hoes? I still don't have them. Where are they? But my point is, like, now I think now it's harder. Now, if you want to like be in the business, you kind of have to like love weed and like know the culture and like
got to be a connoisseur of some sort.
Yeah, you kind of got to be a connoisseur. And I was never interested in that. I liked it as an outlaw product. So I knew that it was we couldn't do it forever. So yeah, I think like I was inspired by stories of like the classic American gangsterism where it's like this guy was a bootlegger, like Joseph Kennedy.
And the fact that they did what they want, they found their way.
Joseph Kennedy was a bootlegger, and you know his sons were John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. And
right.
He got out of the game and went legit. Now, of course, we saw what happened to his sons. Not the happiest of endings, but I was always driven by that mentality. Like, let me get rich and then become legit.
Okay, so you already had that mentality.
Yeah, I did for sure. Yeah, I was always, and also because it was taboo. Like, as like a middle class white person, you can't just be like a big time drug dealer without bringing a lot of shame on and ostracism from your peers and from your family, right?
Well, yeah.
And I'm not saying black and brown parents don't feel shame, but it's a little more.
They definitely do.
No,
traditionals, yeah.
For sure. They do feel shame, but I think it's a little. I think when more people are around it, I think it's just a little more commonplace for people from the hood to go to prison, to get locked up, to sell drugs. So it's not it's
the other side of the white privilege card.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a little more normalized in the black and brown community. So, and that's why I quit selling coke too.
It's definitely more of an urban.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't want people to talk about me. That's why I literally quit selling coke. So my phone never stopped ringing. I was good at it, but I was like, I didn't want people to like associate me as like a coke dealer. So weed.
It's like, God, keep your money, guys.
But weed, I'm like, I can vanish as a big time weed dealer. I can disappear into the shadows, have 3 people picking up all my work and moving it, and I make 3 transactions, and and by the time it came to me shipping packs to people on the East Coast, I was making $50,000 a week.
$50,000 a week. So
with 4 cats.
So you met your Mexican growers, Northern California.
Yes.
And you said they would come up from Sinaloa.
Yeah, well, I'm saying they were there. They would. That was part of the cartel business back then, when weed was still pretty much fully illegal. They would send teams because the best growers in Mexico come from the Golden Triangle, Chihuahua, Durango, Sinaloa, where they all kind of connect in those mountain regions.
Yeah, that's their emerald.
That's right. And so, they invented Sin Semilla, without seed. So. Obviously, like when they figured out that they could grow the best outdoor weed in the United States, instead of risking importing their shit, they just send growers already. And they would march, dude, so high up into those mountains. I think they're. Can we look those up, Icon? What mountains those are? But the Siskiyou Mountains and the mountains of Mendocino County and all of those Northern California mountain ranges, like they were the ones willing to literally miles from anything trudge up, and they could fucking put irrigation in there, and they could figure out how the sunlight would hit they would send up these huge gardens with thousands of plants, right? Because they're the only ones, Mexican labor. They're great. They knew and were willing to do that, and so therefore they could give you the best price if you met one. But you couldn't just. Not everybody could just meet a plug like that. That was proprietary.
How did you?
I met it. I had to pay a guy. A guy that I used to buy coke from. He was a Puerto Rican guy. Imagine that, in Eugene, Oregon. But he knew these cats. And I had to pay him $5,000 just for an introduction. And that was a bargain. I was like, all I can give you is $5,000.
That $5,000 changed your life.
Changed my life. Completely changed my life. So, it was scary. We went going all in like that. But I think we picked up like 20 pounds. We're like, holy shit. Like we spent our last on that. And God, we made so many trips up I-5, bro. And we did it ourselves. Like at the end, I was sending mules down and paying people to do it. But man, we took so many trips. Just like there was no traps. There was no fancy. It was just, we put it in 2 duffel bags and went 10 and 2 in a Toyota, right? No flashiness, just stayed in the middle lane.
Speed limit.
Man. Yeah. But a lot of times you don't do the speed limit, because from Crescent City, California to Eugene or Portland, it's like a 8 or 10 hour drive. So sometimes you're in the middle of the forest.
Just hitting it.
You're like, you're hitting it because you're like, I got to get home. I'm exhausted. I've been driving for a day practically. So, but we never got pinched on the highway. So we would take it back. And well, you want to hear about how I became rich?
Well, tell me about your first. Tell me about your first initial introduction to the cartel growers. How was that like? What you said at first it was kind of scary.
Yeah, so we went to I think I had to go all the way down to Garberville, and Garberville is the gateway to Mendocino County. And back in the day, and this is like a logging town. This is the real Northern California.
Oh yeah,
and it's
like Redding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's even further than Redding because it's not even by a major freeway.
Like right there by the edge.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go. It's Redding and then 4 hours west to the coast and down. And so there's no industry there but marijuana.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And back in the day, these tiny little shitbox motel rooms in Garberville would cost hundreds of dollars a night. How is that? It's because millions of dollars are getting traded behind those doors. People from all over the country would descend on there, and everybody knows what's going on. So I met these, it was the one young kid, like he's probably our age back then, probably like 23 years old. And then one other cat, and we just, I just had his burner phone. Didn't know if he was going to answer, right? We drove, me and my co-D went down there, drove 8 hours, 10 hours, and he picked up. We met him there, and we just counted it out. Like there's no drama. There's no drama at that level. Like sometimes people would get robbed like that, but we knew we were going to be fine. Like we're going to spend spend 60 grand with them, you know? Yeah. So it's like, and it went off without a hitch for a couple of years after that.
So now you're starting to get rich after this, right? So now let's get into the juicy part.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get rich. We weren't able to make millions until we really started moving it across the country, because that's where you could get the best prices. You get the highest price when you move it to people
farther from the source.
Exactly. So you're moving it to, Dominicans. I had a Dominican crew in Washington Heights, Manhattan, right? I had some Italian kids that were mobbed up in like the Philadelphia area. I had black guys in Ohio. I had Jamaicans in Florida, so that's and that was all just happenstance. That was all just luck meeting those people.
So at what point did you start trucking?
Well, this is the fall of 2007. I'm like failing in school, right? I'm a senior in college. I'm like way behind because all my time is dedicated to drug dealing and partying and fucking bitches.
Now that you were having all that fun, just how did you feel about school? It was just like something you didn't need?
I loved school. I loved like history. I loved reading and learning, but I couldn't be bothered with that. I'm like, I'm not going to do any of this
bread,
shit.
bro.
I was like, I'm not going to do any of this shit. Like I'm going to be a businessman.
Like, we go to college to get a job to make money, but I'm making money now. You're making money.
Exactly.
And you're making money. You're making more money than a lot of these collegiate graduates.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I can imagine how you're just like
a lot of these assistant professors, I'm making more money than my teachers, right? It's one of those things. So I was studying. But I'm like, okay, I want to graduate on time. I want to get here. So I went to Argentina to study. You could go do these like study abroad programs. They were a joke, but get so many credits. You could get like a year's worth of credits in one semester. And I'm like, oh shit. And it just sounded like fun to me. So
you're like dormant, or are you living with a family out there?
Well, I lived with a family, but I got tired of that because I couldn't like bring hoes back, and I couldn't, while out.
You had bread.
Yes, and I had bread. So I would rent like apartments, bro. It was so dope. So the party was at my spot always. Like I would rent like short-term apartments the city is called Rosario, and the baddest bitches in the country live there in Rosario. Buenos Aires is the capital. But anyways, so studied there, passed, got all my credits, having the time of my life. And a guy I met there, because it was kids from all over different schools in America, and I learned Spanish. A guy who ended up becoming one of my best friends to this day. He was friends with all of these drug dealers on the East Coast. He was from South Jersey, Philadelphia area, and he knew all these Guineas, all these Italian guys. And back then they wanted a West Coast plug, like West Coast guys wanted a Mexican plug. They were like, "Oh, you can get us fire for how much?"
Right.
And I would quote him. I think the first time I was like, how does 35 sound? 3,500.
They loved it.
And they shit themselves. They were like, "We'll take 5." Imagine I'm paying 2,000. You know what I mean? So I'm flipping a pack for 3,500 that I bought for 2,000, doing it 5, 10, 20 at a time. You see how that becomes $1 million business very quickly.
Fast.
So, and from there it just kind of grew. From there it just kind of elevated. Yeah. So that's how I first started moving it, federally. That's when I became federal. You know?
Right. So it was trucks or air?
Air, baby. That's why I love these, dude. I love the mail. I love USPS. I love logistics. Now, let me tell you something about this. Yes, you could vacuum seal this down. We never use priority mail. We never use priority boxes because this is 2-day. Priority is not next day.
Yeah, you got priority, you got express, you got ground.
You got to use next day. Ground might work, but here's the thing. When I'm dealing with a product like marijuana, shipping it through the mail, it's the stinkiest of products, right? This is not like cocaine, which is very easily hidden, right? You can take a half a kilo and box it down. It looks like a fucking candy bar almost if you can really compress it. But a pound of weed, it's like I got to get it there because I can't risk any of the smell seeping out. Even though I'm vacuum sealing it twice, so
wiping it down.
Yeah, exactly.
It,
So dude, this feels like one of my old traps where I would have a factory line set up, me and a couple of people that I hired, and I literally typed out and printed the instructions on how to do it. And you are never to deviate. You're never to deviate from it. So. And my success rate was incredibly high. But yes, the UPS was the worst. A couple of our boxes got stolen, so I quickly stopped using them, and I would just use FedEx and USPS. The government delivering my drugs.
So it was
imagine that. So when they locked me up, I'm like, I can't really be mad at you guys.
You right? They're like, yo, taxes.
Yeah.
Shoot them taxes.
Yeah.
Right? Now, so was that the only time you got some packages yanked was through UPS?
Yes, and then I got a package yanked from money yanked from USPS, and then eventually FedEx, which is how I got caught. But you're talking in 2 years, hundreds and hundreds of packages, and 97% got through. Literally,
you were batting 1,000. Didn't you?
Yeah, almost right. But that's the problem with the drug game. You bat 1,000 and then you miss once.
And then you miss one, and that's it.
I'm locked up. Yeah.
Right. So, excuse me. So you're driving it with trucks after mail, right? You started with mail and you need your trucks.
For a time we used pods. So this is when pods is just the brand, but they're mobile storage units.
Portable on-demand storage.
Big bingo. So if you want to you're moving from Portland to New York City.
Pack a pod.
Yes, you can pack all of your things in a pod and they'll put it on a truck and deliver it for you, and exactly, and it's them moving it. So I really found that attractive when you have these big time dealers. No, we're not talking like ex-college kids that want 5 pounds at a time. We're talking Dominicans. When I tell them I can only get them 30 joints, they're like, what? Like that's already gone.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? We need 100.
100. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so we could do that. We can fill a pod, we can get, pay somebody in Portland to put it under their name, fill it with old furniture, and then we can conceal, 30 to 50 pounds in one of those. And then we can tell it to, we can give it the exact location where it needs to be met up in the Bronx in a week. And that's when you can take your time. That's when you can spend a week and you can see exactly where it's going. You track it. And then I have time to fly out there and make sure I get my bread and everything goes smoothly. But I was always trying to separate myself from the transaction as best I could. I knew that if I had a wiretap or if they were working for the feds don't need to catch you with drugs to put a case on you. But, I'm just always trying to mitigate my possession is 9/10 of the law.
Oh, yeah.
So that's an old legal adage. So I always had that in mind when I was doing shit like that.
Catch it with me.
Yeah,
Exactly. You got action.
Yeah.
Right. So did you not start? Okay, so you had legitimacy inside your head the whole time. Like you want to build an empire and convert it to a legitimate, entity. Right. Now, where did that go? Was that still with you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the more
you were just kind of riding it until you couldn't anymore, and then wanted to decide to switch to legitimacy because you got busted before you actually started doing something legitimate. Right?
I like you. You've done your homework on the guest. You're a good podcaster, my man. You're a good man too.
I appreciate you, man.
So yes, that's right. We had a stash house in Portland that got raided in 2009, and they took like 5 pounds, a couple of $1,000. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I got a case. Now I'm like, I had they wanted me to cooperate. I was like, fuck no, I'm not ratting on the plug. I need them. I'm like, I'm about to blow this thing up 10 times. But I got, I was on felony probation now. So I'm like, now I'm paranoid. Now this is where life kind of takes an ugly turn. That's when I was like, okay, that's when I really started reading, studying how to launder money, where are we going to take this thing? When am I getting out? How do I run legitimate businesses?
Because it's really real now.
Exactly. There's a real outdate. I'm on borrowed time. So, but the problem with that is like, I'm making so much money. It's like, okay, once I get to $1 million, it's like, dude, I'm out. But then I get the first $1 million and I'm like, 2 million got a beautiful ring to it.
No.
So the problem is you don't need that kind of money if you have a good business idea to start a business. You just don't. But when you make that much money, you're lazy about the other thing. It's very, very difficult to discipline yourself to go as hard on your legal business as you are with that cash, because with the cash, you're just not forced to be inventive. Necessity is the mother of all invention, but when you have that kind of money, it's really, really difficult. So you kind of have to just force yourself to stop, to get out of the game, and then dedicate yourself to being legal. It's very hard to do it at the same time.
Yes.
So, especially when you don't have a lot of help, right?
Right.
But
and you're having so much fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just wild. Imagine a 23, 24-year-old in Midtown Manhattan staying in a suite for $500 a night, and I'm just walking around with $30,000 in cash, and that was all the fun I needed. I didn't really stunt. I was still nerdy. I was still didn't have any style.
But you liked the fact that you were balling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I would just take myself out to dinner and I was a simple boy. I just liked the freedom, the power. It was just I was just living in my own world of this just incredible power that I had. But then the spot got hit. We got set up by one of the guys who was driving for us, and we got raided. That happened, got a felony. So then we totally switched up. No more domestic local distribution. This is all going to be through the mail. And so that's how we operated until we got popped and caught the case that sent me to prison.
So, okay. So how long did you get in prison?
I was sentenced to 36 months. I did almost 20.
Fed time.
No, I avoided Fed time. I never got caught with any product. I turned over, and I had a really good lawyer. We turned over a shitload of cash to the DEA, and we made a proffer. We offered to make a proffer. They thought they wanted to use me to get to these cartel guys. They didn't have they weren't doing an investigation though. They got a package of money that was being sent to me from the East Coast got hit on by a drug sniffing dog in the money, not even the drugs.
No, they got dogs that sniff money. Yeah.
And it was a lot of money. It was probably $50,000 in cash. Yeah, it was $47,000 in cash. And so they tracked it from the sorting facility in, I believe it's Kentucky, Memphis, Tennessee, all the way to Portland. So I was actually initially arrested by like the Portland Vice and Portland Undercover team. The DEA showed up and they found I was slipping. I had over $500,000 in cash at my apartment. So I tried to bribe my way out. Crazy shit, just because my goal was like, okay, to give them all these fake names. They were like, that's not working. They grilling me for hours, right? Shouldn't do that. You should just say, you should tell yourself, if you ever get arrested, just be like, I'm going to jail tonight, but I might be able to get out tomorrow. I need to call my lawyer first, but my idea was, okay, if I can either bribe my way out or tell them, hey, I'm going to cooperate with you, right? Just kick me out tonight. I had money stashed that I was, get the fuck out of town money stashed and bounce. I was in Colombia, back and forth from between here and Cartagena, Colombia, during this time. And my plan was to buy a piece of property down there and build a hotel because Colombia was starting to boom as like a tourist destination. This is back in 2009, 2010. So I could see it. I'm like, this is going to become
people
like,
were going over there for veneers and
exactly
surgeries.
Fake tits. But it was going to become mainstream. I'm like, okay, Medellin and Cartagena are going to become like Cabo almost. Yep. So that was going to be my plan, was to launder money through there. So I was like, I'm going to fucking just bounce. I had a shorty waiting for me. But yeah, they got very upset when I tried to bribe them with that cash. These fucking dorky cops, bro. That's a Portland, Oregon.
What did you tell them?
I'm like, guys, there's only 3 of us right now. Your sergeant's not even here. You're staring at all this cash. Take it and just say I got away. You don't even have to, like, I'm not even saying that you have to say that, I'm not even offering to pay you every month. I'm not telling you to give me information on other people. I'm just saying, give me a head start. Just take take 3 years of your combined salaries in cash that you see on the floor and let me run. Let me just go.
Right. Just give me a head start, man. Just give me a chance.
But fucking, if these have been Italians, if these have been Mexicans, those are fun cops.
You ran into some fucking Boy Scouts.
But I had some Boy Scouts. So they took me down and I was already on paper, right? So it's like I had no bail. Yeah. And so I just spent the next 8-9 months fighting my case. But so the DEA came down and they originally charged me with money laundering, federal tax evasion. Yeah. Threw it at me, right? Because they thought, well, this white boy is going to shit his pants and tell us everything, right? Yep. And my lawyer was like, hang on, they caught you on a fluke. They don't know anything. Yeah. They're asking you questions. It means they don't know anything. They're building
a case as they've
right. So they don't know anything. So they were like, we want you take us to your suppliers. We want cocaine. We want heroin. We want everybody that you're picking up from. We want the people you're sending it to. And my attorney was like, they don't have any product on you. They just have a bunch of money. This is what we're going to do. We're basically going to buy your way out of jail. And so I thought I was initially charged by the state. The feds picked it up when they knew that they couldn't make a case. And we offered them I actually paid them. We showed them where more money was too. We showed them where another couple $100,000 was, and we were like, "This is all my cash." It wasn't, but we said, and I think it came out to like $800,000,
close to $1 million.
Yeah, and so they just took it and they gave the case back over to the state.
They gave the case back over to the state, and so so you got persecuted by the state, and that's and you caught state time. Yeah, right. Yeah. And
I knew I was going to get state time. It was just, even if I was found not guilty of those charges, my probation officer from the earlier case was like, well, you're at least going to do your violation. So I was able to get, but I negotiated to get like drug court to get like not drug court, but what do you call it? Like
you
a
plead
drug
down.
program.
Yeah.
If I put together enough good time while I was in prison, they could send me to a drug program.
Like Prop 36'd out.
I
You
don't
had
know.
to go to drug classes?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Drug court and all that?
Yeah. And I got a time cut from that.
So you told them that you were like, you were an addict.
Yeah.
Right.
They were like, you got to give him something. But my teeth were so good. Like, I was not an addict at all. I was like, I don't have any stories about like,
No, you don't got a pimple on them.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a tattooed tear. I don't have, cystic acne.
Having that. And you know what? Somebody had told me a long time ago, I can't say who told me this, but he goes, you know what? If you're slinging weed, pay taxes on it. And I said, what the hell does that even mean? How am I going to do that? And he goes, just do that, because when you get busted and they want to know where your money's at and whatever, you paid them taxes for the shit. And he goes, as fucked up as it may sound, they want money.
Yeah.
They want money, bro.
We always used to hear that. They were like, drug dealers can pay taxes. Well, you can. If you have a business, well, actually, you can just give the government money.
Yeah.
You could just pay them with a 1099 or whatever the form is and send them a check. And now, if you say this is for cocaine sales, right, of course, probably put you under a microscope. But yeah, if you can do that, then you kind of show them. You can kind of show them that you can operate in the legal world, and if they can look like, because they're human beings, and they operate through seizures. That's the way that they keep the whole thing. Seizures and taxes are how they keep their big bureaucracy going. So that's smart.
What a trip! So what a trip! So you bought your way out of the feds.
Yeah, bought my way to jail.
That's love. And so you did the state. So now you come out.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do comedy and get into your own podcast?
It took me, I came home January of 2012. So it's been 10 years exactly. Right? No, Jesus Christ, 12 years. And then I moved to LA like right away. Like I didn't even wait to get off paper. I lived with my parents as soon as I got home, got some shitty job, and was just like, I'm going to LA. I thought I was going to be an actor. I thought I was going to write, because while I was down, I was doing stand-up comedy at these like talent show nights, but I was like writing screenplays, and I don't know. It was just, I've always been a writer. That's always been a passion. So I was like, oh, I can maybe get a job writing for television or writing movies. I know these screenwriters get paid really well. So that's
You're just a big thinker.
Yes, exactly. My dad was like, your confidence has always outweighed your abilities. He's right though. What a dickhead, but he's right. But I think that actually goes further than talent. Talent doesn't really, dude, trust me, you're in the show business long enough. Talent is like the third or fourth most important thing.
Yeah, I've always said that hard work beats talent any day of the week.
Persistence and hard work beats talent.
Persistence and consistency.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I moved down to LA July of 2012, and I think I started doing stand-up April 2014, so it'll be 10 years. Because that was really my passion. And then because I don't know, acting, it's like you have to wait. Screenwriting, you have to wait. You have to wait on people. You have to wait on executives, casting directors. It's like you're at their mercy. And I've never been like that. My personality has never been. I've always been. I gotta go get it. So with stand up, it's awesome because you can make content like this, like what you're doing. You can
full creativity control.
You can go do as many open mics a night as you want until you start getting booked at clubs and you start building fans, and now you're selling tickets on the road. It's much more entrepreneurial. And writing and being in the business as an actor, it feels corporate. It felt like a job. I'm like, I don't want that shit. So, but I didn't do the connect. So, fast forward, I guess it would be like 8 years. 2022 is when I started talking about all this stuff from the past and putting it on YouTube, and it just, it happened to click and it hit. So that's what I'm doing now. So now we interview people, and I'm launching a new channel where it's going to be like, Cartel news. And there's a lot of plans to like keep expanding the brand and keep making ancillary content. So I'm very grateful.
Right. Yeah. But did you envision yourself with Schultz?
Yeah.
Corolla?
No, it's wild. I was on Tom Segura's podcast. It's just like,
that's epic.
Yeah. No, I didn't see it at all back then. But I knew something was coming for me just because I kept it in my mind. I'm like, I really believe in like thoughts manifestation.
Yeah.
Because what's funny? That all comes from the drug game. Because when I was sitting up top facing 10 years and I had, in the fucking Multnomah County jail, isolated 23-1, fucking eating shepherd's pie, just this gruel, this disgusting fucking slop, and DEA agents every other day were like, Mitchell, you got a visitor. And it was like, they were like, we're going to fucking ruin your, and all that. And I'm like, damn, I made this happen. Like I never thought I would see when I was 16 years old, this fucking just nice white kid selling like 5 pieces on the rainy streets of Portland, Oregon. I never thought I would see United States versus Jay Mitchell. You know what I mean?
You almost took that as an accolade.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, so if I could manifest that, if I could like think my way to that, what else can I do? Right, exactly. So, and it wasn't easy, and it's not like it
didn't come overnight.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I just kind of stuck with that. So faith,
Faith.
Yep.
Faith and work.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Good things come to those who work.
Yes, exactly. And I notice when I do it, I'm doing what I like too. It helps me work harder. So
always,
always.
Yeah. I've always heard if you do what you like, if you make a living doing what you like, you never work a day in your life. And that I only believe that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe that less now.
Right. Because it takes work.
Exactly.
Once you start making a business of it, then it becomes work. Then it becomes a job.
That's right. People forget that. It's like you're not going to enjoy your passion. You're not going to like doing it every day. I promise you.
You're going to like it a whole lot less.
Exactly. Yeah. You probably like it less. I guarantee you the biggest comedians in the world are like, do not want to do 5 sold out arenas right now, even though, I am making, $500,000 for like an hour's worth of work. I guarantee you that, a boxer doesn't want to train, it's, but you learn that like actually like discipline is and meaning through the course of that. And that's actually better than happiness. And now we're going down a real whole other,
rabbit hole,
spiritual rabbit hole. But yeah, the whole, dime piece Colombian women, I tell you what, it's a lot of fun, but it's very difficult to last. It actually doesn't lead to lasting anything, So I'd rather be working every day. I'd rather be living in discipline,
because you want it to last.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm telling you, like, I might just move to Colombia.
Fuck it anyways. Shorty's still waiting.
Every other day, I'm like, fuck this shit. When I see the inflation, when I see them just lying to us, I'm like, dude, I just want to bounce.
You got a Colombian girl over there with a couple half-white babies saying, he'd be home soon, babies.
Right. Oh, she has way more than 2 kids by now. I guarantee you that.
Okay, man. So, great. So what do you got to say out there, man, to some trappers that are, trying to find a way out of it, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They want to go legit sometimes.
Yeah. Well, God, I mean, if you want to go legit, what is trapping now? Like, is there any more weed trap?
We're slanging. Yeah, man. There'll always be trapping. There'll always be weed traps. But I'm just saying somebody who's, doing like that was in your shoes.
We're in the IE. Somebody who's out there selling crystal meth. Now, no, I would say, damn, yeah, it's. You got to quit while you're ahead. It's only winning in the drug game, obviously. It's only winning. And what would I say to them? I mean, the only thing that's stopping you is yourself. Promise you that. Like the whole I'm going to save up until I got enough money to dump it into legal businesses. It's kind of a myth. Most people aren't able to do that. So
when you're up, get the fuck out.
Yeah, I'd probably just stop now. Although it is tough for me to say that, though. I understand the allure of, it seems like there's no other options, but it really is. You're in a prison yourself when you're that deep in the game. You talk to anybody that's been on the run in Mexico. I've talked to, like Conejo, right? You know Conejo, the rapper actor?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Dude, he fucking amazing person. You know, he's talking about being on the run in Mexico with all these other Mexican Americans that are fleeing cases in the U.S. and they're around this life every day. And they were like, I would rather come back and be in prison in America than so-called free, you know, in these circumstances. You're in a prison of yourself. So, yeah, but you might have to get locked up and do some time to figure that out. You know what I mean? But yeah, you need to, I think you can do, abundance is endless. This is what I will say. Sorry. I didn't know you were going to ask me a question like that. I had to think about it. There's enough for everybody, especially nowadays. So you have to know that you can get it. Like there's no competition. You have to move out of the competitive mindset and know that you can make money and become rich legitimately. You know, now it may not be something you totally love to do, but it might be something you're good at. That's another thing. People don't want to do what they're good at.
Right. They want to do what they want to do.
Exactly. Right. But if you can just learn to do what you're good at, you will then actually become fond of it. Yes, you'll become fond of it, because who doesn't like being the best at what they do? So that part. It's like I would have loved, for example, like when I first started comedy, I was like I wasn't myself. I wasn't talking about this drug shit. I wasn't talking about really like funny, grotesque, you know, kind of like vulgar stuff. I was trying to be clean. I was trying to get on late night TV. I was trying to become like a writer, a television writer in a writer's room with all these like fat dorks. And the industry wasn't fucking with me, and it hurt. It just hurt. I felt rejected. I was like, I want to do this, but it just wasn't my path. So I was able to let it go and just kind of lean into this thing that I'm good at, which evidently it's podcasting. It's, you know, it's doing comedy for a very niche audience, but it's like, I'm much happier now. And, you know, it leads to its own beautiful path. You know, you never know what life, when you're out there selling dope and trying to control life, you're not putting faith, you're cutting yourself off from so many other opportunities.
Yeah. From living.
Yeah. From living and from finding, you never know what's around the corner. That's the beauty of it. So you got to just change your mindset. And a lot of people just have to grow up. So if you have a 21-year-old who's trapping, that's okay. You're only 21, you're a kid. Life's long.
Yeah.
How old are you?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm in my 30s. So, you know, I definitely have seen life pass by in the blink of an eye.
Sure.
You know, so as much as you say life is long, you end up, you know, when those years pass and you're like, shit, man, I probably should have done something.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
I probably should have done something.
That's true. If you're doing you're doing decades in prison, that's when you're really going to realize, like, oh, I squandered it. Don't squander your life. That should scare you. But no, I mean, life's long. Like
you have the opportunity to reinvent yourself.
Many times, bro. Yeah. So many times, especially if you're a dude. You can fuck till you're 60. You can be good looking. You can, you know what I mean? Like,
we have
look at Icon.
We have a honey pack for those that are fucking over 60.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, there's just, and once you really find something that works, it'll blow up immediately. Like I did a million podcasts, it didn't work. The Connect, I had a fucking, you know, in 2 weeks, I was making a lot of money. Like overnight it exploded. Overnight it exploded. So once it takes a long time, but when the wall finally comes down, it's a flood.
You miss the game?
Do I miss the game? Yeah. Talking like this, fucking A, I miss it. Yeah, no, definitely. There's so many things I wish I could have done differently, but you know, I don't really miss it. I don't. No, I don't really
miss the perks.
Yeah, I miss the perks. I miss the freedom. I miss that time, but I'm glad I had it. For sure, I'm glad I had it, you know?
Yeah, it's shaped who you are, you know?
Yeah, to give me a great story, and then it's allowed this whole branding thing
to take off.
Yeah, like what Negra's doing with her podcast.
Yeah, shout out to Indicted and Negra.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I definitely missed the game. I missed the money, but but the legal money it's way more.
You're doing all right.
It's way more fulfilling. Right? Yeah, exactly. So money's always, if the end goal for me was just to be rich. So I think
no matter what you did.
Yeah, what's that? Exactly. So I think that if you just want to be rich, that's great, because then you never waste time with doing your passion, right? Yeah. If you're just like I love being rich, and that's what, I love taking care of my family, and my goal is to like
financial freedom.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. That's God wants abundance. That's why he made man, spread out like this. And so it didn't really matter how I got it. I just knew something was going to work, and I found the thing that worked, and I repeat it.
So you always know it in your head.
Yeah.
You knew you were going to be something in your head.
Yeah.
Since you were young.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes, every successful person that I've spoken to that's currently successful at this moment has always said the same thing. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was coming my way. And every morning I told myself the same thing, like, we're getting rich today, or we're going to get rich. We're going to be successful. And every person says that. So it almost seems like that's something that's needed, is for you to believe in yourself that much.
I think that's why a guy like Nipsey Hussle resonated so much. Because
the confidence, the self-confidence.
Yes, but that's what he preached, was that mentality that you just spoke of. So, you come from like an era, and that's how the mentality has changed. And that's why I think things are getting better, perhaps not on a governmental level in this country, but on a cultural, societal, we'll call it mental or spiritual level. They've improved. Just when you look at the culture, Tupac was very dark. He was talking about his death and killing his enemies and his early death.
He manifested that.
And he manifested it. And, Jesus Christ. And now, unfortunately, Nipsey Hussle, God damn it, he ended up getting killed, but he did manifest this independent career that was just like a remarkable thing, like going from selling CDs on Slauson, and weed, and just like
T-shirts and socks.
Yeah. Like, how do you come up for, like, you're like, it's impossible to like think about how that would evolve to become this like hood and really just icon, rap and cultural icon. But he just had that mentality every day.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
so
true.
I think people want more and more of that.
They like to see it, it reminds people that it's possible.
Yeah.
Because they're man just like us.
Yeah. You too can come from the bricks and ascend and make a career and make millions and then get shot to death.
That took a dark turn. But hey, as a lot of the these lives that we lead in these certain specific, niches, it turns out like that sometimes. But you know what? Before their untimely demise, we were able to see and appreciate their stories. So hopefully, you don't.
Yeah, that guy's
getting that same type of demise, dog.
Yeah, I don't think so. But you never know. I definitely am trying to prepare.
Nah, man, you're good.
Whenever I'm on a plane and I feel that turbulence, I'm like, oh, I'm never going to cheat on my girl again. I love her. Lord, I turn to the Lord. I'm the best. I am never a better person than when I feel those bumps on the airplane. You know what I mean? I'm like that baby that's screaming. I love it. That's one of God's creatures. And then I land and I'm like, where's the pussy at? Where the hoes at?
Time to ball.
Yeah, fucking blocking my girl.
Oh shit!
No, I'm just kidding.
Quiet mode.
Yeah, she knows. She's like a young lady. She knows that if you just keep calling someone on quiet mode, it stops being quiet. Yeah, do you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, how much bullshit is that?
I found that out by being called. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Fuck, man.
No, So she knows your past and everything like that. Yeah. How long have you been with your girl?
Yeah. Well, I've been with her for a year, but it's pretty serious.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. It went way too fast, but she's amazing. She's educated, and she's from she's Iranian. Her family's from Iran. They're Persian. So they're all very wealthy and from San Diego. So she's like, wants to be a scientist. It's a whole different kind of ball of wax. So, but I do just miss those. There is something about like
Say it. Don't censor it.
There's just something about
A stripper and a box of nerds that gets me.
well, I was with we were a bunch of nerds sitting there in that box. There's something about when you go to Hong Kong in Tijuana, and there's something about a stripper, a young woman from, say, Jalisco, and she's got a rose on her tattooed on her tit. And you're just like, bitch, I want to save you. You're so fucking fine. You're so fucking ratchet.
That was so specific. That was so specific, dude. She's there.
Oh.
She's there now. She's got 2 roses, though.
She absolutely, one for each fucking dead baby daddy. And there's just like, I love that too. God. So it's hard, but yeah, monogamy. We can talk about that on another.
Yeah, that's a different
show.
podcast.
Are you married with kids?
I do have kids. I'm not married.
Are you divorced? You just never got married?
No, I never got married.
Oh, good for you.
You know, it's great.
How many kids do you have?
This guy had 4.
Oh,
but they were different moms.
So that makes it better.
So I live that life too.
That's
it doesn't make it better, but it doesn't make it worse.
Icon's over here just staring in disapproval. Icon, do you have a child out of wedlock, or you guys are actually married?
Icon thinks this.
I'm gonna remove this, and I'm gonna say it before my wife comes because she has to bring me my jewelry and my white shirt before we go live.
Oh, your wife loves me. I think.
Dude,
I don't know.
She's don't even start.
I think in Las Vegas. So look, when I met my wife, I had multiple girlfriends. I was in I do long-term relationships, and when I'm out of that long-term relationship, I'm everybody and everything.
Yeah.
I was in really, really good shape. Really good shape. If you thought I got my wife like this, you're disillusioned. You know what I'm saying? I was in really great shape. I was like 190. Fucking this fool were in the gym every day. And so I had a gang of bitches is where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
And I truly believe my Vegas girl said she was pregnant, and I told my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, obviously, but I told Negra, and she was like, well, asshole, but I guess I'm going to be a stepmom. And in that moment, that's when I chose my wife. Like, all right, I'll be with you.
Amazing.
But Las Vegas is how she'll be referred to. Was pregnant, and I was like, yo, let's keep that baby, but I'm gonna stay with. And she was like, nah, fuck that, I don't want this baby then.
So you got a 2-for-1. You got rid of the baby and the bra.
Well, no, I wanted to keep the baby.
There's a little baby running around there with one
right
big
now, I don't know if she ever.
This is a Mexican podcast.
I don't know if she
You guys
ever
don't do
aborted
abortion.
the baby or if that baby grew up. Because I've seen photos, because her brother's from my hood,
Right.
and I still talk to him, right? So I've seen photos of a little girl over there, and I don't know if that's our baby or not.
Does she look? Jesus Christ!
The things you don't tell your best friend. You're a scumbag.
Wow. I mean,
this is all getting deleted.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
shit. We're just conversing at this point.
This is good banter.
You know.
No.
Banter.
I had a good story about ejaculating inside of a Colombian.
Oh, good. That would go along because he likes unprotected sex at Hong Kong.
No, wild. You know, I have a friend, also a big, fat. You're not fat. A husky Mexican guy.
He's fat. It's okay.
He actually licked a pussy at the Hong Kong. He licked a vagina because they went up to one of the rooms. He said,
dude.
Yep.
And she showered, and she said he saw this like long. He was just in heaven, and he saw this long piece of soap just running down her ass crack, and at that moment he just
that ass
spread the cheeks open and just fucking went to town. A dog on a bone.
Pit bulling.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like the freaking man is real, you know, and it's our job to not put ourselves in those kind of situations. But anyways, I used an old condom one time when I was banging out a beautiful, beautiful sex worker in Colombia, and it broke, and I definitely busted a nut. So
who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I
knew there were two little. Yeah.
So somebody's just shackled in poverty because she's got,
bring her over,
child. But
save her, bro. Save the baby at least.
Yeah, I remember this. She was perfect in every way except she had kind of a lazy eye. So if you're listening to this in Colombia and you see a mulatto child, a 6'6" mixed race child with a lazy eye, you know, tell him to reach out. Tell him to reach out to Papa. His gringo father
He's
made
got some shit going on. Right
his
now.
gringo father made good. You know.
He was out
We
of
keep
control.
some of that in.
We definitely
I'll
are.
look around.
Don't you want to make this a relatable, funny podcast? We just talked about serious shit, so let's you keep my part in.
Your part for sure.
For sure.
We'll see how I feel.
You know, people don't
About
like
mine.
a really edited podcast, like a super cut.
Oh, we don't really
Got
do
it,
it like
got it.
that.
I mean, I'll
Okay,
remove
good.
most of the cuss words
But
in the
you know
first 30
something,
minutes
yeah,
or something,
Got to,
but that's about it.
Yeah, you got to. I hope it didn't cuss too much.
No, you do
No,
well.
we did good.
Now, what is the Latin culture, second generation in America? Your stance on abortion? Go. Are you still influenced by the Catholic Church?
It's your choice, girl.
Okay. So
Joe body, your choice.
Right. This
Joe
is an
body, your
American.
choice. You do. You know what I mean? I'd like to have a little say in it if we did it together. I would like to have a little say in it. You know what I mean? But I don't think that you could just tell a girl what to do with her. You know what I'm saying?
I tell all the girls that want to have abortions from me to keep the baby. And if they do, they do. If they don't, they'll burn in hell, not me.
Now, has that's kind of a reverse psychology trick?
You see that?
That's-
Did you catch that?
Totally. Totally.
I meant it though.
Right. Right.
Right. Yeah.
Like you're
Sure you did. Fuck yeah.
You can't get my child support across state lines. Anyway, but you only have.
I have
you have two kids with Negra.
One with her and then one out of wedlock.
Oh, that's how white people say. Out of wedlock.
Remember, they used to say illegitimate.
Right. Illegitimate.
Was horrible.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Horrible
Bastard. You had a bastard.
What happened to just calling you like Icon Snow? You know?
Right. Yeah.
Icon Snow. Icon.
So since he's from East LA, what will he be called? Eric what? Eric Hills?
Eric Bino.
Eric Pinos? My wife's here on my
Bino,
jewelry.
because
Let's wrap this shit up. I got
anything you want to add?
Nah. Johnny's the man, the myth, the legend.
I actually really enjoyed this podcast.
Well, I appreciate you being here, bro.
Yeah, thank you.
You're definitely a legend in the game.
Yeah, hey, I
For
appreciate you, man. And if anybody would like to listen to my podcast, it's called The Connect with Johnny Mitchell. We interview, we had Rick Ross on there, drug traffickers. Hi, Negra.
She's not here yet.
Oh, hi. Okay.
This is Blanco.
Oh, Blanco. So white. What's up, buddy? How are you? Well, he is white. Holy fuck.
It is. He's
What's up, boss?
He's so white. He's almost clear.
He has not taken nothing today. This kid walked in serious.
super serious. Bro.
He's got that new on the yard kind of energy, like the new gang members that take it way too seriously, and the OG has to be like, "Yo, just chill." You know what I mean? We don't want to get selled in again.
He's talking about Jay from Riv right now. So
no, I
just
like
let
the
y'all
guy.
know.
You can go listen to The Connect. So we have, drug traffickers, corrupt prison guards. We've had a lawyer, Rosenberg, who I think is
shout out to Rosenberg.
Yeah, we had Rosenberg. He's coming on this week. We've had
Fire.
All
guest.
number of characters, celebrities. We have Steve-O from Jackass is going to be on there. We've had guys, big truck drivers that used to work for the Cartel. It's very.
I need Steve-O from Jackass if you can facilitate
Of
that.
course, he's a pain in the ass, but
Whatever.
yes, we'll talk. So yeah, and follow me on TikTok, Instagram at Mr. Johnny Mitchell. Dude, I don't usually come to the IE, but when I do, it's for the food.
It's with the food.
Yeah.
Dope.
Highly appreciate you, Johnny.
Well, you already know what it is, man. Johnny Mitchell with your boy Godsmoke, man. This Trappers Only, baby.
This food.